Happening now.
In health news, students call for better health plans in the schools. Students say, school nurse not enough. They're demanding that podiatrists, dermatologists, immunologists, and other trysts and gists be on hand at every building. More on this specialty story later.
In board news, Akron Board of Education members make a motion to have their group renamed. According to the president, the last thing they want people to associate with their meetings is being bored. Proposed name changes include Akron Excited for Education, Akron Ecstatic Meetings Are Us, and Akron Definitely Not Board of Education.
In legal news, a lawsuit is being lobbied against the Assistant Superintendent of Akron Public Schools over the use of fruit in her presentations. Activist groups angry over the unfair discrimination that oranges have received since her comparison of them to apples.
In international news, Wolf, more political party lines are being drawn as students of North Hill schools take a stand against bilingual bigotry. ESL, or English as a Second Language, students feeling prejudiced over their native tongue being omitted from their lingual designation. Demands have been levied at APS to change English as a Second Language to fill-in-the-blank first language.
I'm Young Wolf Blitzer, and you're in a predicament space. In tonight's top story, we investigate the case of David James and our made-up scandal we're calling James's Gate. James Gate? James's Gate. The superintendent of Akron Public Schools, who only a few months ago sent the education world into chaos when he said he might be leaving for a job in Columbus, Ohio. What would the good residents of Akron do? Who would replace him eventually? 8 candidates were chosen, but as fate would have it, David James decided to stay where he belongs. That left the 8 potential candidates high and dry and with an axe to grind. Who are they? What are their thoughts on the made-up scandal? And how are they feeling in the wake of James's non-starter? We've caught up with these capricious candidates, and you're going to hear from them tonight on A Predicament Space. James's Gate. Educational world saved from chaos, but left to spin in confusion in wake of startling decision. Brought to you by Allstate Insurance. Are you in good hands? Good, clean hands? Because sweaty, greasy hands would be gross. Welcome back. I'm Young Wolf Blitzer. For those of you just joining us, we're investigating the causes and fallout of our made-up scandal, James's Gate. On February 28, 2018, David W. James decided to stay in Akron and retain his position as superintendent of Akron Public Schools. This was preceded by months of rumors of will he, won't he tension akin to the Sam and Diane, Ross and Rachel drama on 80s and 90s era NBC. What a network. To bring the issue into focus, we've caught up with alleged Director of Communications for APS, Mark Williamson. Let's go there now. Hello, Mr. Williamson. I'm Young Wolf Blitzer with the Predicament Space. Are you the alleged Director of Communications for APS that we're looking for?
It's not an alleged director. It's my title, Director of Communications. Secondly, you want?
There's no need for profanity, Mr. Wilhelm. You must be aware that your superintendent threatened to leave your school system some time ago and then recently decided to stay. Can you explain his reason for staying? Does it have anything to do with a major cover-up that would give our show a ratings boost? What is he hiding? How can we blow this non-issue out of proportion like a 15-second soundbite on TMZ?
Look, there's no cover-up, okay? There's no scandal. There's nothing to worry. There's nothing to see here, okay? It's people like you that feed my $2,000 a week therapy habit. This isn't news. It's not a headline for you idiots. This is just a guy trying to get a job to better his life. He wanted another job. Didn't want the job. He decided after like a year and a half he didn't want it. So he doesn't have the job. He has a legacy here. He wants to follow through on it here. Is that so hard for you guys to get and understand?
Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Willis. I think we've had some sort of technical difficulties. All we were able to hear was that there is a cover-up and scandal and controversy, and David's legacy is coming to an end. Can you elaborate for us while I prepare for Miami?
Look, here's what I want to elaborate on, okay? If you don't turn the camera off and get the heck out of my office, you're going to come to an end. Got it? You got it? You understand that? Does that make sense to you?
Well, there you have it. The first confirmation that our made-up scandal is every bit as pretend real as we thought. We'll be back with more eye-opening revelations after this.
In student news, a new study says that social media may be making students less social.
When we approached a student to ask for a comment on the story, the student looked down at their phone and tweeted, "OMG, someone is like actually trying to talk to me, like in person? Hashtag creepy, hashtag so retro." Back to you, Wolf.
Thanks for tuning in. I'm Young Wolf Blitzer, and you've just heard from Mark Willow that David James had planned this whole charade to cover up a bigger plot. We've got our video feedback now, so let's see if we can talk to someone in James's office. Since you won't talk to the media, perhaps we can get word from his secretary, Marilyn Clackler. Hello, Mrs. Cracker. I'd like to ask you some questions about David James.
Okay.
Why did he decide to stay in Akron?
Oh, I don't know.
You don't know, or you don't want to know?
I don't know.
You know, you're looking awfully nice today, Mrs. Clarendon. Was that necklace bought with hush money?
What? No.
Hold on. I've received word that we've located our 8 candidates and are ready to get them on air. Maybe now we'll get some answers. We'll be back to talk to you later, Mrs. Crackle. Let's get them on now. Hello, I'm Young Wolf Blitzer, and you're on a predicament space.
Thank you so much. I'm really honored to be here tonight.
Nicole Dillards, you're the first of our former potential superintendent candidates to be on the show. I'm very curious as to what you were thinking when David set out to create this rift in our educational system.
It was just sad to see somebody like such a great superintendent to be leaving, and so I was just shocked, I guess, that he was leaving.
Well, that was a lot less inflammatory than I was hoping for. Certainly you can't still think so highly of David after creating such fallout.
I think he's a good advocate for our students. Just how pushing to be the #1 urban school district. I think that's a great goal to have, and we're all working towards that. And so I think that's really huge for a superintendent to be so involved and encouraging all of the staff members. So it's good to see that things will continue in the direction that they're going right now, and nothing will change. So.
Well, pretty talk and flowery emotions are not what I get paid to report on, so I think we're going to need to wrap things up.
Okay.
Before we go, though, you were up for the job of superintendent when he was leaving. What kind of changes would you have instituted in APS when you took office?
I think the first thing I would do was be like, no school on Monday, maybe a half day Tuesday and Wednesday, and then maybe we'll end the week with no school on Fridays as well.
So you would have canceled school on Mondays and Fridays and gone to only one school day a week?
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, you got your half days that make up one, though, so it's like 2 days.
Don't you think that would have had an effect on children's education?
I don't think it would be an issue at all. We could make it work.
Up next, we have Rebecca Hickson on the line.
Thank you for having me.
Tell our viewers what your response was when you heard that David James was leaving.
I was very surprised because I wondered why he would want to leave this wonderful place of Akron.
Well, let's leave your personal municipal prejudice aside for the moment. Can you please tell us what your feelings were when David James announced he wasn't going to Columbus?
I was really happy because the college and career academies are such a huge opportunity, and I think that's really important that he sees it all the way through.
Well, that sounds like a rehearsed response if I ever heard one. And believe me, I know. I rehearse my responses every night. Is that all you have to say on the matter?
I think he's very invested in the future of the students in Akron and with LeBron James and the whole I Promise.
Enough! Stop playing games with us, Hickstown. What did you really think when you thought David James was leaving?
Good riddance. We need somebody new. I'm pretty sure LeBron James paid him to stay.
Well, now you're certainly not pulling any punches. With that being said, what kind of reform would you have instituted when you took office?
I would have made shorts and tank top Tuesdays.
Okay. Before we wrap up, can you think of any other reasons why you decided to stay?
It's too far of a commute. Have you seen the prices of gas?
Well, thank you, Rebecca, but that's all the time we have right now. When we come back, we talk to several more candidates and find out the real reason David James stayed in Akron. After this. James's Gate, a city too far. Brought to you by Geico Insurance. 15 minutes could. Wait, 15 minutes? Have you ever talked to an insurance salesman for only 15 minutes? Welcome back. I'm Young Wolf Blitzer. Our next interview is with Jennifer Wicks.
When I heard that David James was leaving, it was a sad time for me because I think he's done a lot for Akron Public Schools with the college and career academies that are starting. He's really been a big part of our structure in Akron Public, our district focus, and I was sad to hear that he may be going to Columbus and someone else would benefit from his expertise.
So please do tell, how did you feel when he decided to blow off Columbus?
I was glad. I was relieved. I think that consistency is important in any school district, and I think that Dr. James has provided a consistent framework for us in Akron Public to continue to help our students succeed.
All right, Toots, let's cut the crap. You were there when he made the announcement that he was staying. What was running through your mind?
He needs to be here with us commoners and fight in the trenches every day like we do. He can't leave us for something better. He has to help us make this something better.
Well, I see you're very impassioned about David James sticking it out here. Speaking of David, we haven't been able to reach him for a comment. I believe the last time he was seen was during your interview for the position. I don't suppose you have any idea where he might be?
He fell in a pothole. He's still in there. We're trying to find him. We're trying to get him out. Dr. James, I hope you're okay. Hopefully the street department will find him soon. So we hope to find him soon.
Uh-huh. Can we get a trace on this call? You might want to practice that story before the cops get here.
Okay.
Well, there you have it. Jennifer's Tick just openly admitted to the probable and probably brutal disappearance of a local superintendent and likely many others. David James, wherever you are, we hope you are safe and still in one piece. We'll be back after these messages. James's Gate. Teacher implicates self in David James' silence and possible street burial. Brought to you by Nationwide Insurance. Nationwide is on your side, reaching into your back pocket and stealing your wallet. If you're just joining us, I'm Young Wolf Blitzer and you're watching a Predicament Space. We're about to speak with Cynthia about David James and she seems to have a lot to say. You share what your thoughts were on the situation when it occurred.
I was thrilled. I'm ready for Ellen to take over.
You're speaking about Ellen, the Assistant Superintendent of Akron Public Schools. Why do you think she would have made a good superintendent?
Well, first of all, she's a woman. Second of all, she has a great sense of humor, and she makes me laugh.
Clearly, all important credentials for any job. So what were your thoughts when David announced he had withdrawn from the running for the job of Superintendent of Columbus City Schools?
I was really mad. I was really disappointed. I was ready for him to leave.
What we haven't been able to determine by talking to other candidates is why David chose to stay. Any thoughts on that?
You know, I think he thought it was going to be a little too hard for him, and he wanted to stay where it's nice and easy.
I see. What changes would you have implemented in the schools when you took office?
I would reduce our class sizes, smaller class sizes for our elementary teachers.
And how would you have accomplished that?
Just get rid of the kids, clean up shop a little bit.
And where would the kids have gone?
Charter schools.
Are you saying that they would have received an education equal to that of APS?
No, I'm not saying that, but what do I care? I'm superintendent and I'm sitting high up in the ivory tower there.
Well, there you have it. Thank you, Cynthia Bratwurst. A harsh message from a truly heartless individual. More after this.
In board news, June 21st will be the longest day of the year. That means we will be getting a whopping 12 hours of daylight that day. Now that's a long day, yet not quite as long as your average school board meeting. True story. Back to you, Wolf.
So you're sitting at home, reading a book, sipping a mimosa, and then you hear David James is leaving Akron. Thoughts? Go.
I was initially very surprised. Columbus School District is a good school district, and to hear that he's staying is awesome. He has built a great foundation here at Akron Public Schools, and where Akron Public is headed, I think under his leadership, it's going to be awesome.
Like many of the answers we've heard tonight, yours reeks of political correctness. We're not looking for answers that are good enough, Gooden. We're looking for the truth. Can you handle that?
I was overjoyed.
Seriously?
Yes, absolutely. I went and celebrated with my friends.
Wow. That's cold, even for a cheap news show like ours.
Because I think we need to have a woman, preferably a Hispanic woman.
So if you had become superintendent, what would you have done differently?
I don't know. Not leave.
Well, for better or for worse, David James didn't leave. So if you had to guess as to why he didn't take the job, what would you say?
Oh, it's easy. Easy. He wasn't getting paid enough.
You're painting David as a pretty selfish individual.
Aren't we all? I mean, really, do you think I teach just because I love kids? Have you seen my paycheck? I'm making money.
Well, I suppose that... Hold on. We've just received word that there's a caller on the line that will shed some light on this story. Go ahead, caller. You're on a predicament space with Young Wolf Blitzer.
30 years. I've been waiting for this. This should have been me. This should have been my job. If he was going to leave, this should have been my job. What's the matter? What's the matter with him?
Hello?
How could this have been? I should have had this job. This is ridiculous.
Caller, can you identify yourself for us, please?
I'm a taxpayer here, and I'm just a concerned citizen.
I see.
So listening to these jokers who think they can step into this job, get these people off of the air. This is ridiculous. All their ideas are just stupid. They're ridiculous. You know, what the heck is he doing?
All right, caller. Well, thank you very much.
It just got really emotional for all of us. And
yes,
it was
thank you for calling in today.
hard to watch. And now he's staying, but it was supposed to be my job now.
Yep.
You're welcome.
Bye-bye now. Well, that was not what I expected. But things never are on a predicament space. We'll be back after this.
In faculty news, a representative for APS says that they've reached an agreement with the teacher union to increase teacher salaries by up to $1 million next year. That same representative also said that next year we'll see pigs fly, cats listen, and the Cleveland Browns go to the Super Bowl. Back to you, Wolf.
Welcome back. Now on a predicament space, we have Leslie Nasal Cavity. Leslie, you're on a predicament space.
Thanks for having me.
It's quite a thrill for you, I'm sure. So what was your response to David's announcement?
I thought, okay.
Just okay?
You know, if you've seen one superintendent, you've seen them all.
I see. I feel the same way about our guests. Anyway, we haven't really discussed why David wanted to go to Columbus in the first place.
Well, Columbus City Schools are in Columbus. Let's face it, that's where ODE is. If you ask me, if you wanted to take over ODE, proximity. Every good teacher knows proximity is the key. I think that's what he was thinking.
So hold on a second. You're saying that David James, who's either a kind, benevolent advocate for students or a money-hungry loaf of an individual who may or may not be face up in a pothole somewhere, was conspiring to take over the Ohio Department of Education.
You didn't hear that from me, but I'm just saying.
Thank you for your time, Leslie. While she gets ready to fly back to her flat earther commune, we'll take a break for these messages.
In school pride news, APS buildings have expressed a desire to create a flag to exhibit their school pride and unity. Most administrators are on board with the idea. However, after a disagreement over the lunch menu, students are scheduling a kneeling protest during their morning pledge. Back to you, Wolf.
I'm Young Wolf Blitzer. This is a predicament space. This is a guest. Thanks for being here, blah, 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 blah. David James, you know who he is. You know what he did. Almost. What did you think?
I was pretty upset. Like, he was going to be here for just a little while. He did one good thing for the city. He was here for one season, then he's just going to leave?
You're upset? Good. I mean, why? Is there something more that you're not telling us? What did you think when you heard that he was staying?
He's still got something he owes us for the city. He's got to, I don't know, be here for a whole nother year till he actually proves his love to us. Love for his city.
Now we're getting somewhere. So, you're saying that David James owes the city of Akron something because of some previous malfeasance on his part, or that he was running to Columbus to hide from said malfeasance. Please, Miss Mocha, continue.
Columbus? What do you mean he was going to Columbus?
he was going to Columbus to take the job of superintendent of Columbus City Schools?
What does basketball have to do with Columbus City Schools? I'm confused.
We're talking about David James of APS, not LeBron James of the CAVS.
Oh, that would make a difference. Who's David James?
James's Gate. What's in a name? Everything, apparently. Brought to you by Farmers Insurance. Farmers, they know a thing or two because they've spent a decade or two in the pen. You know who I am, you know what you're watching. This is the last interview.
Wolf, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
And not at all surprising news, Dan. It says here on my sheet that you're out on parole after trying to take over the city with a giant death ray that your students made? So any other plans of conquest, Dan? Are you moving up to country takeovers next?
I told my kids we'd better focus on worlds.
Great. Well, I'll leave the mad scientistic to you. So, magic isn't really your field, but what I want to know about is the disappearing act that David James tried to pull recently. This show has the worst writers.
I think he recognized that while his future may have been Columbus, his legacy is going to be Akron.
That seems a little trite, Dan. You care to elaborate?
A year ago, we thought we were building an airplane while we were flying it. This year, with the coming of the college and career academies, I thought we were trying to build the airplane while we were landing it, and our pilot was reaching for a parachute. I'm happy to see that that was not the case. It's nice to know that you can have a vote of confidence in your pilot.
Well, to use your analogy, Dan, there are plenty of pilots in the world.
You don't want to change horses midstream. You don't want to change pilots mid-flight.
All right. And if David James were to have left, did you imagine yourself getting into the pilot seat?
Well, we had a plan for that.
Oh, which was?
Well, you know I teach engineering, and my kids are relatively advanced. So for when it was announced that Mr. James may be departing, we decided we were going to get together and replace him. We were going to do this by building a robot. We had been investigating artificial intelligence. We thought that we could, in about a year, have a program that reasonably represented the superintendent's views, and we could place that within the robot.
Don't you think someone would be able to tell, Dan?
Nobody would notice the difference.
All right, I give up. How would replacing David James with a robot, how would that even have helped you?
Somebody has to control the robot.
Scary stuff. Well then, to wrap up, now that David decided to stay, any future plans?
We're looking at trying to replace the mayor.
I see. Well, thank you, Mr. Snack. I'm sure there's a padded room somewhere with your name on it. And I may just join you. David James, an enigma of a man or a man wrapped in an enigma. I don't know if we'll ever truly know why David James tried to leave or why he chose to stay. But of these two things, I'm certain. First, I'm very grateful my kids don't go to a school where any of these people are superintendent. Secondly, if I was David and I had to work with these lunatics, I'd probably try to leave too. I'm Young Wolf Blitzer, and that's The Predicament. Good night. James's Gate. Emmy-worthy or empty worry? You decide. Brought to you by State Farm Insurance. Because like your annoying in-laws who overstay their welcome over the holidays, State Farm is there. But at least there was no singing this year.